Hey guys, welcome to No Filters, Just Freedom, the show for people who are ready to stop shrinking, start rising, and live with unapologetic audacity. My name is Jasmine, I'm a life coach, and I'm here to guide us all through this journey of bold, authentic living. I can't start this until I have the perfect plan. It's not ready to share yet. If I can't do it perfectly, I won't do it at all. Welcome back to No Filters. And that sound, that's the sound of an idea being perfected to death. How many ideas have you killed before they even had a chance to breathe? How much joy have you postponed because the conditions weren't perfect? Well, today we're breaking the chain of the exhausting, soul-crushing trap of perfectionism. We're embracing the glorious, liberating, and deeply powerful art of being good enough. Let's get this straight right now, though. Perfectionism is fear in disguise. I'll say it again. Perfectionism is fear in disguise. It's the fear of judgment, of failure, of not being enough. Excellence, on the other hand, is about love. Excellence is about love. It's about passion, mastery, and growth. One is a cage, the other is a journey. We're here to break out of the cage. So the first thing we have to do in order to break out of the cage is talk about the high cost of your perfectionism, okay? The first thing you pay for is what I like to call the paralysis of analysis, okay? Perfectionism is the number one cause of procrastination. I know they seem completely different. I know we would never think about that when we're doing work or whatever else, but there is this propensity to put off or say I'm not ready yet, or to keep pushing the deadline further and further and further away because you keep needing to tweak it, you keep needing to do a million other things to it, and you never really get off the ground. That is procrastination. Something that never ever really gets done, and you keep saying I'll get back around to it, okay? The pressure is so high that not starting the thing feels safer than actually risking the imperfection. We're so caught up in what it might look like on the outside, we're missing the point of putting the product out there, okay? And it's about products never launched, conversations never had, opportunities missed, all right? Life happens in the messy middle. Waiting causes life to pass you by. And again, this is how we handle so many things, and perfectionism can ruin so many other things, especially when it comes to living your dreams, when it comes to creating a business, when it comes to fulfilling a passion. If I had waited for my idea of, my life coaching business or this podcast or anything that I'm doing for that matter, if I had waited for that to be perfect, if I had waited for that to actually work out the way I want it to work out, I would never be here. It would never ever be good enough. I'd be where I'm still naturally worried, but I had to just get over myself of like, well, what does this sound like to people? Is this going to be good enough? Are they going to judge it? Is there going to be a problem? X, Y, and Z. These thoughts are constantly running through my head, and I'm not the only one, but I cannot let that fear of the unknown and rejection and concern stop me from putting an idea and a dream out there that I might have. So you know what? Out goes a podcast. It might be great, it might not be, but guess what? It's out here. And all I can do is learn from the situation that I have. So you don't want to be paralyzed by the idea that it's just not enough. The next thing that is a high cost of perfectionism is the creativity killer. All right? Innovation requires experimentation. All right, and that's kind of the reason why you put it out there, okay? You tweak it here, you learn here. I didn't know it like this, but now I know it like this, and I want to try to be better in this area. You just back and forth, you're constantly tweaking what you need to do, but you're tweaking a product that's already out there. Think about when people write books, okay? You have second, third, fourth editions of books. It's not that they didn't put the book out there, it's that they realized they had to just kind of keep going. And that's what innovation looks like, because one day you hit the jackpot and you're like, yes, that's what I needed. But you wouldn't have known that if you didn't go through a couple of wrinkles in the beginning. Experimentation requires failure. You don't know what works until you know what doesn't work. Okay, that's pretty much how that is. It doesn't matter if it's something as simple as cooking a new meal, okay, to building a business, to me creating my weird TikTok videos. And, the goal for me was not even to become viral, but to just at least have some people watching because I want to impact people. And it's hard to impact people when you're only getting 10 views. So what do I have to do? I don't stop putting the TikTok videos out there. I don't, stop and tweak a bunch of stuff, but I go, okay, what seems to be working? Let me change this. Let me do this. And I'm constantly experimenting until one day I'm getting a solid number of views that I can live with. Because again, I'm not trying to go viral. I am a whole wife and mother. I don't have time to go viral. I don't have time to maintain that all the time. It's really nice if I do, but that's not my goal. But I would have never gotten to where I am if I hadn't been willing to experiment and fail. Perfectionism strangles innovation in the crib. It as a baby form, perfectionism just strangles it. It goes, we don't have time to fail. We can't afford to fail, so we're not even gonna let you try this thing out, okay? It confuses the messy middle for the final result. It thinks because it isn't going to look the way it needs to look and it's not got that final polish on it or whatever else, that it's not right, it's not good enough, it can't work. But again, the messy middle is where you get experimentation, and experimentation is where you can fail. You probably will fail, but when you get the greatest lessons, okay? You can't learn without doing. You cannot learn if you do not struggle and fail, okay? If everything is easy for you, if you're always succeeding, you can't grow. You can never get any better than you already are if you constantly know everything. And you can't let your perfectionism stand in the way of your personal growth. We have to be honest with ourselves. Where does perfectionism most show up in our lives? Is it at work? In our hobbies? In our appearance? We have to stop letting our lives be derailed by our pursuit of perfect. I know growing up for me, it was for a lot of different reasons that, are relatable and not relatable, but a lot of it for me was my education and schoolwork. I wanted to be very perfect when it came to my brain and my education and what I put down on paper, what people saw me as. I was very neurotic when it came to my education. And it stood in the way of me enjoying so many things when it came to school. So many different fun things, projects, whatever else, maybe just enjoying time with friends when I was younger, because I was so caught up in being perfect. Why? Because I could be. And for me, as an analytical thinker, perfect was a number. Perfect was I can get 100 on this test. I can. It's an attainable goal. And I will not stop until I am perfect. And that is so debilitating and so derailing. And I let that sometimes stand in my way of, going to hang out with friends or doing the fun thing or not cutting corners, because I'm like, well, this is the fastest way for me to get 100. So that's what I'm going to do, rather than enjoying the process and having fun or just hanging out with friends and enjoying a group project, or maybe not taking on all that pressure. Okay, I was letting my life get derailed by the pursuit of perfect, so much so that I had a whole crash out. My brain just kind of gave out on me. Why? Because it's a muscle and you can only push it but so far. And you know what happened? I was no longer perfect. I learned a lot. The experiment began. I had some failures, and now I feel so much better about myself. Because I'm constantly tweaking, I'm constantly growing, I'm constantly trying to be better, but I have zero drive to be perfect another day in my life. It's so healing, but I first had to come to terms with, where does this perfectionism show up in my life and how can I move past it? Because right now I'm letting it derail me, okay? So when we finally see where perfectionism is showing up and where it hurts us, it's time to gain some practical tools to help us overcome. So tool number 1 is creating the good enough deadline. So for any task, set 2 deadlines. The first deadline is good enough. You force yourself to ship it, share it, call it done, even with all its flaws. This is the hard one. This is the hard one for everybody. You put it down, you say, okay, at 9 o'clock at this time, this is gonna be done. No matter what it looks like. No matter what it looks like, no matter what it sounds like, no matter how it's functioning, this is what is going to happen. Boom. And then you do it. Then you become a person of your word. Then you maintain a certain level of self-respect for yourself by doing what you said you were going to do. And it's overwhelming and hard, and you can have a couple of panic attacks, okay? Because you're like, the deadline is here. I don't think it's good enough. I don't think it's done. What do I do? And that's where you have to stand on your principles and say, this was my deadline. I got to do something with it. Then the next deadline, which is more helpful, is the revision deadline. If it's an absolute must, you can polish it later. Okay? If it's an absolute must. If it's something that comes up and you're like, no, this really needs to be revamped. I wrote a book. It was great. Check it out, guys, if you want. It's personal plug. Know Your Place, Reconciling Culture's Definition of Feminism with God's. It's for my ladies out there who are constantly feeling pulled by religion as well as culture. And the truth is that you can love God and be a feminist at the same time. And God does not go against that. If anything, he is the biggest promoter of that. So you can get it on Amazon. You can get it on TikTok. The point is, I wrote this book, Know Your Place. I had to just put it out there. I got it. I tweaked as much as I could. I could have been sitting on it forever. I wrote it. It was great. It did some stuff. It reached people. It was nice. Okay. Then it was time for me to revamp some things. It was years later. I'm getting my brand together. I'm setting some stuff up, and my life is different. My life is different. I got to tweak some things around. I have a little bit different perspective on some stuff. 95% of that book did not change. But there were a few personal things, because that was part of the book. I made it very personal. I made it very thought. I made it very detailed in my personal thoughts while relating to what culture says and what God says in a factual way. So if my thoughts change or my life changes or my perspective changes, it's got to change. So what did I do? I wrote a second edition. You can do that after 5 years. And I just gave myself a revision deadline, said, look, by this time you have to be done with all of your tweaks, and then you're gonna publish it again in a discussion. And you know what? I did it, and it's done. And it might not be better, and it might not be worse. I don't know. I don't care. I put it out there. I let the world decide. Okay? That's how that works. 2 deadlines help break the cycle of endless tweaking. Okay? Because otherwise you're just gonna be going, tweaking. It's not enough. I'm not doing this like this. It's frustrating. So you want to ask yourself, will spending another hour on this make a difference to the outcome? Or is it just my perfectionism refusing to let go? Is this a control issue? Okay. Yes, we talk about control when we talk about perfection. Yes, it is a control issue. But when it comes to the nitty gritty, when it get down to the brass tacks, okay, you have a product. Are you trying to control the outcome, or are you really telling yourself, look, this really can be better? Don't sell yourself short. You have to ask that question. The second tool is become a happy amateur. Okay? Just be a happy amateur. Intentionally do something you're bad at. Man, sometimes for me, it's something as simple as a video game. Okay? Learn a new video game. Maybe make cooking a new recipe. I'm not always the greatest cook when it comes to things, especially when it's baking. I don't bake well. I don't bake well. And I might be willing to try something new. I know I'm not going to be good at it. I've been playing this computer game. My friends make fun of me. I've been playing this computer game for 4 to 6 months, and I still haven't won. And I'm like a glutton for punishment. I keep going back. No, I'm gonna get there. It's kicking my butt. But you know what? Sometimes I'm intentionally doing it just to be an amateur at it. There are people out there that have beaten this game as a profession, and I am just struggling out here in these streets, okay? But the goal isn't competence, but rather to reconnect with the joy of doing something purely for the experience, not the outcome. I love the game. I love the concept. I'm enjoying it. It brings me joy. And I had a friend ask me one time, is it fun if you keep losing? Yes. Because it's not about losing. And man, when I get further than I have before, I'm so excited. Probably a little more excited than I need to be, but it doesn't matter. I'm super excited. And that's what makes it enjoyable for me. That's what makes it fun. That alone makes it worth it. Okay? So you want to learn to rewire your brain to value the process over the product. All right? It's not about whether I win or lose. It's about, did I have fun in this thing? Did I find passion in the hour that I invested in this? Okay? The final tool is the 80% rule. Okay? In most cases, the final 20% of polish actually requires 80% of the effort. That is a complicated statement, but in most cases, the final 20% of polish requires 80% of the effort. That means you are spending most of your energy pushing towards the finish line. And you gotta know that. You gotta know that. That might mean that you have to pace yourself the first 80% of the journey, because you know you're about to invest everything you have to finish. And if you don't pace yourself, you have to be okay with the fact that you will run out of energy on the last 20, and you need to be okay with it. You have a limited, finite amount of energy, and sometimes you need to pay attention to where that energy gets invested. You should not give more than 20 to 25% in the beginning stages, so you have nothing left to end across the finish line. That's why you're drained. That's why you're tired. That's why you're overwhelmed. You didn't save yourself anything left at the end. Okay? Think about doing products, things you're doing like a marathon. Okay? Perfectionism says you have to run this marathon in a certain amount of time. Okay, perfectionism says you're not going to be satisfied with this marathon if you don't finish it under a certain number of minutes. So then you tell yourself, after every mile, I need to be at this minute. Problem is, if you push yourself too hard the first 20 miles, your body has nothing left for the final 6. Nothing. So maybe you start off a little slower in the first few miles and you build momentum. That way, by the end, you have a good push to the end. That's what it's got to be like, because the truth is, when you run a marathon, your body only has so much energy. You only can give what you can give. There's no way to do more. And so you have to be very realistic with where you put that energy and how you use it. That's what you want to do when it comes to overcoming your perfectionism. Okay, you have a finite amount of resources and you have to use it appropriately, and you cannot let your perfectionism force you to use energy where it's unnecessary. Okay, so you ask yourself, is achieving perfection worth the immense effort, or will 80% accomplish this goal and free me up to live my life? Will it accomplish the goal and free me up to live my life? Is it possible to get 80 to 90% of it done and put the rest and just be like, I don't have it in me? Can you do it? Did you make sure you saved enough energy? And if you did not save enough energy, are you able to just call it quits? Is this worth the effort, or can I free myself up to live my life? Sometimes 80% isn't just good enough, it's great. Sometimes 80% is good enough. Sometimes if you have a goal to run your marathon, then you say you're gonna run it in 5 hours, but you finish it in 6, so be it, you finished it. And you did great. You did great. Who cares if you didn't stay with your timing or whatever else? You know what? You ran a marathon. 80% can be enough. 80% is good enough. And it's not about settling for less. It's about giving yourself a break and knowing that you are human, and humans cannot be perfect. Remember, freedom is found in things being good enough, and you find joy in their completion. Here's some of the gifts you can enjoy with this newfound freedom of just being okay. You gain some productivity, okay? You actually finish things, because the truth is, done is better than perfect. I don't have to stress about things not being done. It's done. It's over with. It's out there. Who cares? It's finished. It's uploaded. I finished it. I did what it was. I could tweak this podcast till the day that I die, or I could just upload it and let it rock. If it's great, it's great. If it's not, so well, I learned from it. Productivity actually happens in the freedom that I get from releasing my perfectionism. 2, you actually get the creativity back. It allows yourself to play, experiment, and make glorious, interesting mistakes. This is where the innovation lives, okay? I get to have fun, I get to experiment, I get to do all these things because I'm willing to fall short on something and not be perfect. 3rd, you get connection. You get to be a more relatable human. Being openly imperfect makes us more relatable. It gives others permission to be imperfect too. Because if someone feels like they can't be less than with you, it puts pressure. And if they can't handle that pressure, they don't want to be around you. And you lose relationships that don't have to be there. But when you're just as human as the next person beside you, there's camaraderie in that. There's, hey, we can help each other, because some days I'm down and some days you're down. but we have a mutual understanding of what that actually looks like and what that quote unquote downness, how to help each other out of it. Okay, that's a really big thing. Connection is built there. Okay, we want to let others know it's okay to be imperfect too. We can be good enough together and still be the best version of ourselves. And lastly, you get present. Okay, you stop obsessing over the future and start enjoying the present moment. You find joy in the doing. Okay, the moment I stopped freaking out about growing up and educational stuff and college and money and I was finally able to just start enjoying some of the stuff I was doing in the moment. Hey, let me enjoy this project. Hey, I have an opportunity to travel across the globe to do a project with friends. Let me have fun with that. Let me see how this works. Let me take this extra course that's unnecessary just for fun. Just to say I did, I'm enjoying this video game and it brings me joy and I'm happy about it, okay? I can find joy in the moment, in the doing, instead of so worried about the end result that I can't be happy with where I am right now. That's what we're trying to get to. That's what we're fighting for, to enjoy every present moment. Guys, there is beauty in the rough draft. Reframe the messy first draft as the most honest, courageous stage of any project. It's where the raw, authentic magic lives before the inner critic tries to perfect it into something else and into something soulless. You can do that. You can suck the soul out of something. We crack jokes. We know those people. We talk about those people that can quote unquote suck life out of the room. And a lot of people that suck life out of the room are the people that come in and they're kind of judgmental, but not even judgmental to you. Like, they're just judgmental about the entire process. They're just super judgmental about how everything goes, how everything works, how it's just why. Why are you like this? Why does it have to be this way? And they're not fun. They're not fun to be around. You don't want to be that person. You don't want to be the person that comes and sucks the joy out of a room because you're trying to have fun and you're trying to enjoy a process and you're just trying to relate to people, okay? It is possible to perfect something into soullessness. You don't want to do that. Enjoy the process. Enjoy the rough draft. Enjoy okay, I at least got all the thoughts and opinions out there. What's next? So, look, perfectionism is not a virtue. It's a prison. It's a fear-based prison that continues to paralyze, all while being a dream killer dressed up as a high standard. Good enough isn't compromise. It's liberation. It's the key that unlocks finished projects, new skills, and a life that is actually lived, not just planned. So this week, I challenge you to release something into the world that's just good enough. Okay, post the photo that isn't perfect. Send an email without over-editing for the 10th time. Maybe share a half-baked idea at your work meeting. I know that's overwhelming. I know that's scary, but try it. There's no harm in it. What's the worst that can happen? Somebody say no? That's the reality of life. Even perfect people can still say no. Remember, a masterpiece is often a good idea and just a good enough draft that someone had the courage to stop fiddling with. So be that person. Remember, you don't need permission to be great. And this is your call to rise, to reclaim your power, and to step boldly into the life you were meant to live. I believe extraordinary potential lives in all of us. The dreams we've tucked away, the voice that was softened, and the fire that's been waiting to burn bright. This journey isn't about fitting into someone else's mold. It's about shattering expectations and embracing your truest, most unapologetic self. No more shrinking or waiting for permission. The world needs your brilliance, your resilience, and your unique light. It's time to stop asking, am I enough? And start declaring, I am more than enough. Your next chapter begins now. Let's write it with courage, audacity, and unshakable belief in who you are. The unstoppable person isn't born, they're awakened. And that person is you. Now go start your revolution. This world needs your unshaken light today.